Hey guys, it's Amelia here. So for those of you guys that joined the live Zoom call this morning, thank you so much. It was really wonderful. We had a ton of people show up, which makes me so happy. And I was totally stupid and forgot to record the call. So I'm really sorry. I'm going to go through the slides really quickly just because I know a lot of people missed it and wanted to see them. It won't be as good as it was live, but I forgot to hit record. So I hope you enjoy this, and thanks to those of you guys that showed up live. Okay, so today's presentation is on lateral work in dressage. And first of all, why is lateral work so hard? It's hard for all of us. So even top riders, even top trainers, it's hard. And part of the reason too that it's hard is that lateral work is not natural for a horse. A horse would never canter sideways across the pasture. They would turn, spin, and run the other way. So because of that, it's not really an instinctual thing for a horse to go sideways. It makes their balance a little precarious, and it's just simply not natural, especially when you factor in, okay, now let's bend you and move you sideways. It's just not natural. So I have some exciting news, which is that my new Masterclass is available for early enrollment. Early enrollment ends June 1st, and then the class starts on June 15th. And this course was inspired because of these live Zoom calls that I've been doing, and the realization that the dressage training scale is like this all-encompassing tool that helps every horse and every rider make progress in dressage. It's something that I incorporate to every single ride that I do, to every single lesson that I do. It's a guide that I use if I run into a problem or I have some kind of an issue. I always go back to the training scale. It's also what the tests are all based on. So whether you're riding training level or second level or FEI, all the dressage tests are based on this concept of the training scale. And it's what the judges are judging you on. So it's like a brilliant tool. It's one of the only tools that can be adapted to fit every horse and every rider. And I'm really excited about this course because we're going to go through lectures on every aspect of the training scale, and then I'm going to have a chance to show you specific exercises and how I do them with my horses. So check out that link, www.dressagetraininglab.com/earlybird/ if you want to get the discount. So first of all, lateral work from basic to advanced. It's really important. The red line there shows that above the red line is not lateral work. So turn on the forehand and leg-yeild are not technically part of lateral work. Lateral work requires two things. It requires bend and collection to actually be considered lateral work in dressage terms. So truly lateral work, we have shoulder in, haunches in, half pass, and pirouette. Those are the main lateral work movements. Turn on the forehand and leg-yeild are suppleness exercises. So those are exercises that you want to do before you get into the lateral work exercises. Lateral work in the training scale. So you can see that training scale, it comes up all the time. It's so important as you are doing your lateral work that you don't forget to keep in mind the training scale, because invariably as you're working on lateral work, you're going to come across other problems. So you may lose rhythm in a gait when you're trying to do lateral work. You may lose the connection. The horse might come above the bit or duck behind. You will probably lose impulsion in lateral work. So keeping in mind the training scale as you're working towards the lateral work is so important. I can't stress that enough. And if you lose one of these fundamental things when you're working on lateral work, you need to go back and work that out. So when we think about leg-yeild and turn on the forehand, there at the bottom, those are suppleness exercises. Lateral work exercises are denoted by the red circle there at the top. So shoulder in, haunches in, half pass are working on straightness and collection. So just keep that in mind, that when you're working on lateral work, you're working at the top of the training scale, and that presupposes that your fundamentals and your basics are really solid. Now, groundwork is the foundation of lateral work. I use groundwork to introduce lateral work to all of my horses. And I demonstrate this, how to do it step by step, in my new course, which I'm excited about. So the picture here is Kensington, my new 5-year-old, and I'm doing a turn on the forehand with him from the ground. The reason that it's so great to do it from the ground is a couple of reasons. One is that I can see what his legs are doing. So we can all see there that the left hind leg is stepping forward and across his right hind leg. I'm holding the reins as if I was riding. So my left hand is on the left rein and my right hand is on the right rein. And I love to introduce the turn on the forehand, also teaching the horse to bend a little and disengage the hindquarters from the ground, because you can be much more effective and not get in such a big battle with the horse, not end up where you have a horse that's running backwards or rearing or just totally confused. So this next slide is an overview of the lateral work. At the top there, we have leg yielding. And it's important to note that in leg yielding, you'll see that the horse is straight from their poll to their tail. They have no body bend. They do have flexion in leg yield. If you see there on the top, the horse has a slight indentation in its left jaw. So the horse is slightly flexed to the left while the horse is moving over to the right in a leg yield. Now, shoulder in, haunches in, renvers, and half pass all have bend in the body. So again, if you look at the image there, the horse has a curve from their poll to their tail. They're shaped like a crescent shape. They're bending in the rib cage. Now, shoulder in is a 3-track movement. So if you do a shoulder in for a test, there's 3 tracks. There's the outside hind leg. The second track is the inside hind leg, and that. So in shoulder in, there's 3 tracks. The first track is the outside hind leg. The second track is the outside front leg and the inside hind leg. And the third track is the inside front leg. So if you have more than 3 tracks, you're going to have 4 tracks. And that's actually kind of easier because the horse doesn't have to engage so much the inside hind leg. Or if you have less than 3 tracks and you're not getting the horse enough off the rail, you'll also get marked down. One way that I really like to decide if I have enough angle in my shoulder in is I visually look at my horse's outside shoulder and the rail, and I ask myself, could I fit a human between the rail and my horse's outside shoulder? And if the answer is yes, then I say, okay, I think I have a good angle in my shoulder in. If there's no space between your horse's outside shoulder and the wall, then you don't have enough angle in shoulder in. Now, travers, if you see, there is a 4-track movement. So you'll have the outside front leg as 1 track. The second track is the inside front leg. And the third track is the outside hind leg. And the fourth track is the inside hind leg. So travers actually has a little more angle and bend than shoulder in. And then renvers is basically haunches out. So again, it's a 4-track movement, but the horse is bending towards the rail. And half pass is the same bend as travers, only now you're going away from the rail on a diagonal line. The aids for shoulder in and haunches in. So I wanted to show this image because in shoulder in and haunches in, the horse is bending around the rider's inside leg. So for both shoulder in and haunches in, The rider's inside leg is at the girth, as denoted by the blue circle, and the outside leg is behind the girth. So the horse is bending around. Now you might say, okay, well, how am I supposed to tell my horse if I want shoulder in or haunches in if my leg position is the same? That's a good question. And the answer is that it has to do with how much pressure you have in each leg. So in shoulder in, you'll have a little bit more pressure on the inside leg to keep the horse on the rail. In haunches in, you'll have a little more pressure on the outside leg to be pushing the hip off of the rail. In both shoulder in and haunches in, you'll have a little more weight on the inside seat bone because that's over the horse's center of gravity because they're bending that way. In shoulder in, your shoulders will be turned a little to the inside because your shoulders should always mirror your horse's shoulders. So those are the aids for shoulder in and haunches in. Now let's talk about a volte. So a volte is the solution to all lateral work issues. A volte is an 8 or a 10-meter circle. It's very important that you master these circles before you do your lateral work. 10-meter circles are introduced at first level at the trot. As you can see by the image on the right, on a circle, the horse is learning to bend their body. So they're learning that bend in the rib cage and bend through their whole body that you need to ride a correct shoulder in or a haunches in. For a volte, the same age, you'll have inside leg is at the girth and outside leg is behind the girth. If you look at the image on the left there, under where it says the bending aids, you'll see where it says A, the horse is bent to the left. So the rider's left leg is at the girth. The right leg is behind the girth. The left leg, so the inside leg is talking to the left hind leg, and the right leg or the outside leg talks to the outside hind leg. So the job of your outside leg behind the girth is to prevent the hips from swinging out on a circle line. So the bending aids are inside leg at the girth, outside leg behind the girth, outside rein controls the outside shoulder, and the inside rein for the flexion. And that stays true for your volte. So it's the same bending aids onto your volte. And then I use a volte to introduce the lateral work. So I'll do a volte, I'll go down the rail and shoulder in. So if I want to introduce shoulder in, I'll do a volte. I'll pretend like I'm going to start another volte, but right when my horse's shoulder leaves the rail, I'll put my inside leg on and say, no, never mind, we're going down the rail. So I use a volte to set up the shoulder in positioning. I'll go a few steps down the rail, and then before things fall apart, I'll go off onto another circle. If at any time my lateral movement falls apart, whether I'm riding shoulder in or haunches in, I go immediately onto a circle, fix the bend, and then go back to my lateral move. Now, if you want to introduce haunches in from a volte, you're going to stop that last stride. So instead of letting your horse's bum go back to the rail the last stride of the volte, you're going to keep your outside leg back and keep the horse's hind end off of the rail. Now, the half pass. So the half pass is where things get complicated even more, because in shoulder and in haunches in, you have the rail to support you. But in half pass, now you're in the middle of the arena with no support from the rails. Half pass is basically haunches in on the diagonal. So it's the same concept as haunches in, only now you've complicated it by the fact that you need to be able to guide the horse's outside shoulder. The way that I introduce haunches in to my students and also to my horses that I find is the easiest is to simply have them go like haunches in down the long side, up the center line, make a diagonal back to the rail, and then ride haunches in on that diagonal. And it's important in the half pass to have a destination letter. So you're looking up, your horse's ears are looking, and you keep that letter between your horse's ears. That's going to help you get the bend correct. Now let's talk about the thoracic sling muscles. So it's really important in order to do lateral work correctly that your horse's back is up and engaged. And horses have what we call thoracic sling muscles, which is that they are actually able to pop their withers up between their shoulder blades. They don't have collarbones like us, so they can use their pectoral muscles to actually lift up their whole wither apparatus, like their whole trunk can lift up between their shoulder blades. And if you've felt a horse do this, it's truly the most incredible feeling ever when you just feel like their whole front end lifts up between your legs. And it's not like their head comes up and their underneck gets tight. It's not that feeling. It's like their whole back and withers come up. And in order to do a really good shoulder in or haunches in or half pass, they have to do this. If they're hollow, they're not going to be able to move sideways and cross those legs over because their back is down. It just doesn't work physically. The physics of it aren't right. So lateral and longitudinal suppleness kind of go together. The more you work on getting your horse to move sideways, it's going to help get that back up and more longitudinal suppleness. But you also then have to go back and really get your horse round again over the back. So some of the common rider faults in lateral work, this picture pretty much sums it up. But I see a lot of riders that lean over to the side to try to get the horse to move over, and that just simply doesn't work. You have to stay straight above them. In the lateral work and shoulder and haunches-in, you need to stay a little on your inside seat bone, but you're not leaning. So you're putting a little weight on the seat bone, but you're not tipping to the side like I am in this photo. Now, the other thing that I see a lot of is over bending in the neck. So you'll get like a rider that's doing a neck in and they've got their horse's head cranked to the inside, but they're not doing shoulder in. The shoulders are right on the rail. So you should never have more bend in the neck than you have in the body. Another thing I see, like you can see here, is that my inside leg is way too far back. My right leg is too far back and it's too clamped up. So lots of times in our effort to get the horse to move over, we're drawing our leg up and too far back instead of keeping that leg long and kind of pulsating or giving little kicks in the rhythm of the gait. And then the other thing you'll notice is that red circle is denoting an indirect rein aid. So neck reining your horse over and crossing your hand over the main line is never a good idea in lateral work. It just simply doesn't work. Okay, so for those of you guys that were live, we had a lot of great questions and I'm sorry you missed it. I'm sorry I didn't record it. It won't happen again. But don't forget to join my masterclass, and if you sign up before June 1st, you get an awesome early bird price. I'm really, really excited to have the chance to work with you guys more in detail and show you really how to break down these movements and how to use them to help you in your training. So check that out, dressagetraininglab.com/earlybird, and I hope to see you in the course. Thank you all so much. Thank you for supporting this. And I'm just so eager to share my knowledge and help you guys out. It makes me so happy. And I love hearing from all of you. So thank you.